Presidential Climate Commission will this morning visit Eskom's Komati Power Station in Middelburg. That's in Mpumalanga. This is part of a monitoring progress that's being made in repurposing that power station from coal to renewable energy after it was decommissioned. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan and his Environmental Affairs counterpart, Creecy, will also be part of the visiting delegation. Newzroom Afrika's Mweli Masilela is following this story, and he joins us live now. Mweli, good morning to you. So this is a conversation that is ongoing in the country. It's got to do with fossil fuels versus renewable energy, or green energy, as the experts like to put it. That power station, it's reached its end of term. What can we expect this progress to monitor today?
Yes, indeed, Mweli. People have been saying that this is a very important conversation, and we have had quite a number of views from different people, more especially because some were worried about jobs being lost as this transition happens. That is why then the issue of the transition being just has been an issue that is being debated in many areas of society. But we are here at the Komati Power Station. As you have said, this power station's life ended in October last year, and there's been funding that has been given, approved, especially from the World Bank and other international entities, to ensure that the power station is now repurposed. If you look into the fact that it's been almost 60 years since this power station has been operating, and now Eskom as well as other role players coming in to say that rather than closing it down completely, something needs to be done to ensure that there is power generated here. We understand that once it's complete, it will generate about 150 megawatts in terms of solar, as well as 70 megawatts in terms of wind production. But Mweli, let me bring in the Chief Operations Officer of the Presidential Climate Commission, as they come through as very key stakeholders in the debate of the transition, because they must be the ones also ensuring that South Africa, as a signatory of many treaties relating to the issue of climate change, also complies. If you can tell us about today's visit. I understand that the main issue is to monitor if indeed there is progress in terms of transitioning from coal to renewable energy. But why is it now important to ensure that you are on the ground overseeing what is happening?
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your show. I think it's important to do this particular site visit, and I think the timing is really opportune, because when you look at the schedule of decommissioning of other coal power stations, leading up to 2035, we'll be seeing more and more decommissioning as more power stations reach the end of their economic life. It's important to have an understanding of what's happened here at the Komati Power Station, what's happened to the communities, what's happened to the workers. So there are gaps that have been established, and if there are mistakes that have taken place here, we can continue to correct them moving forward as the decommissioning process reaches forward. We do know that we have a coal-fired power station and a fleet that is quite old and is quickly reaching the end of its end of life. So there needs to be a lot that needs to be done to make sure that indeed the social elements of the justness of this transition are indeed met.
I think another element, some people that they are concerned about the fact that looking into the previous generation capacity, it was about 1,000 megawatts when coal was used to produce power here. But now we are talking about 150 megawatts and 70 megawatts. So that particular difference, some people are asking, is it worth it to shift from coal to renewable?
Well, we have to look at it in the context of the fact that this particular coal-fired power station is 60 years old. It had reached the end of its economic life. So it means pushing it beyond this point would have been not economically sustainable for the owner of the asset, which is Eskom. So to be quite honest, moving beyond this particular point, it's a situation where it would have been decommissioned and left completely with nothing in terms of economic activity. So what we're doing here in terms of this particular repurposing project is to ensure that there remains economic activity in this particular region. I think the question that needs to be asked in terms of energy availability as well as energy sources is a broader conversation for the integrated resource plan, which is meant to be released, I think, later on in this year.
Let's talk about community engagement, because I understand that later you will be visiting some of the communities around this power station. We understand that the main concern was that people will lose jobs, but from your side, as well as Eskom and government, they're saying that some of the people have been transferred to other power stations and some have been left here to be part of this repurposing project. But do you think enough consultation has taken place in as far as the transition is concerned?
And that's the reason why we're here today, to investigate if that really has happened. The Presidential Climate Commission commits itself to 3 principles, one of it being procedural justice. And with procedural justice, we want to know if sufficient community activity has taken place. For example, in the case of community involvement, it really needs to happen. Otherwise, there's really deficiencies in the justness of this transition.
All right, thank you for talking to us. Koli, that's the Chief Operations Officer of the Presidential Climate Commission. We're expecting proceedings to get underway maybe around 9:30. That's when we'll hear also from the ministers, especially Pravin, Gordhan, as well as Creecy, as their portfolios are quite important in as far as this project that is taking place here is concerned. Koli.
Mweli, Masilela, a very, very important project indeed. Thank you very much for that update.